Over the past 20 years, Bangladesh has been one of the fastest growing large economies in the world. For much of that time, GDP growth has sat between 6 and 8%, pushing the economy beyond $450 billion and turning a country of more than 170 million people into a major industrial centre. Around 80% of Bangladesh's export earnings come from garment manufacturing. Clothes sold across Europe and North America are cut, stitched and packed here, in factories supplying some of the world's biggest brands. Also, on the rivers outside Dhaka, shipbreaking yards dismantle retired vessels piece by piece, feeding recycled steel back into construction and manufacturing. In this video, I'm going to take a look at Bangladesh's industries and how they're fueling the world.
Heading down to the river and we're going to catch a boat to one of the shipbuilding and shipbreaking yards. I'm not sure if they build them or break them there. But Bangladesh is famous for taking apart all the sort of old ships that are kind of not seaworthy anymore, and they basically tear it to pieces, sell everything for scrap. But here in Dhaka, I think they build ships as well, or repair the ships using all the scrap, as far as I know.
And that's one of Bangladesh's main industries.
I think so.
Looks like we're getting in one of these boats now, which I think will take us to the shipbreaking yards. Fahad's just negotiating with the owners of the boats. Looks like he's found someone. So we're coming up to the shipbreaking yard here, and this is literally where the ships are broken down and then sold for scrap. So these will all be ships that are a bit old, have been decommissioned, and they'll be using them for parts, etc. And this is a huge industry in Bangladesh. I didn't even think about this as an industry. So this is where you buy the bits to make the ships. Like, this is a huge kind of shopping area. You know, chains. There's a wheel there, steering wheel. And then the ships are both behind and in front of us. And Rich just said, everyone says this is the shipbreaking yard. I think it is actually called the shipbreaking yard. But actually he thinks people are more building ships here than breaking.
England.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Oh wow.
Go ahead.
Now they will melt it and they will make a new one.
Okay.
They will melt it and they will mix it with new copper and they will make a new one. That's the shape.
So this is an old propeller
Old propeller.
that needs to be redone. Right, okay. So they're literally melting the copper and then they're going to completely make a new one. You can see the mould over there.
Oh wow, yeah. They're just breaking it down.
Yeah.
It's on average, it's very hard work and very low paid. On average salary is 150.
150 a month.
A month?
150 or 200.
Wait, 100, 200 stack?
$200. Who is actually engineer and who is actually looking after everything, he is getting 500.
Right, okay.
So that's better.
That's a pretty good.
Although, still not loads for an engineer.
In Chittagong, you guys can, if you guys are making trip, you guys can include these as well.
Yeah.
I can take you to biggest shipbreaking here. This
Oh,
is
really?
the biggest one.
Yeah.
That
In
one is
Chittagong.
the biggest one in world.
Yeah,
In the world.
yeah,
So in your country, you must have cruise ship, right?
yeah.
So after the cruise ships expire, they all them they bring here
Oh, do they? Okay, yeah.
and they cut here, they melt it,
Yeah.
make iron. So
Yeah.
Just factor.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Because here it seems like they're more building or repairing
Repairing,
Yeah.
repairing and breaking,
breaking.
but in Chittagong, it's only breaking.
Only breaking. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will see the big oil tankers.
Yeah,
Big
Yeah.
that's where they take
cruise
them apart.
ship.
Yeah.
And is this a big industry in Bangladesh? Yeah.
Big industry.
Yeah.
Because it's a good price when you are buying the old one. It's like it depends on oil tanker or cruise ship. It depends, but it's like 4-5 million. They're for 4-5 million. They're buying it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing profit in 6 months. They're making profit for like more 2-3 million.
Really?
Oh, wow.
That's not bad for
but for
Yeah.
workers it's bad.
Yeah, for workers.
They are getting $5 a day.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Biggest in Bangladesh? One of the biggest.
One of the biggest. Biggest one is garments.
Garments,
of course, yeah.
Without garments, we are nothing.
Yeah.
Wait. Without garments and without our labor in Middle East, Europe, the people who is going to work in Europe, in Middle East,
Yeah.
without them, they are the. History is actually the biggest industry in our country.
Oh, really? People sending money back from, yeah.
When we were in Qatar, a few people were Bangladeshi living there.
A lot of people are living
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
That's also a very big industry.
That must cause problems here, like a brain drain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All the good students, they don't want to stay.
Yeah.
If you are here, maximum you will get maybe. It will take time to get you a very good salary. Maybe it will take 5 years, 10 years, long. But if you are going to USA or UK or maybe Australia or maybe Europe, instantly you are getting more salary than you will get.
Yeah.
Better to go there.
Yeah. How much do doctors get paid a month? Do you know?
It depends from which industry.
Yeah, of course. Like a surgeon, do you know how much they'd get paid?
And doctors, they are getting very low salary
Really?
of their first job.
Yeah.
So intern doctors, they are getting only 200.
Really?
200
Wow.
for a doctor.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Though.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But for surgeon, when he's a professor, surgeon,
Yeah.
that thing is getting good salary.
Yeah.
It's not depends on salary. You are getting more patient. So for per patient, maybe $15. Your charge is $15
Okay.
per patient. So
Right. Okay. So it depends. Yeah.
So maybe a day, if you look for 20, 30 or
Yeah.
40 patients, so it's a good money.
Yeah.
But still it's low.
He doesn't work here, does he?
He works here. A lot of child labor here.
Really?
What does he do?
He's a helper, workshop helper.
How old is he?
13.
13.
13.
Really? 13 years old. How much did they pay him?
I cannot tell. This
You
is,
can't tell.
Oh, okay. Oh, really?
It's really low, but he came here to learn.
He's an apprentice.
Does he still go to school?
No.
So when did he finish? What age did he finish school?
Maybe 7, 8.
Really?
Maybe he never goes to school.
Really? Sad.
He's getting $200 a month.
$200 for moulding the turbine.
Yeah.
Is it hard work? Can you ask
It's
him?
hard work.
Yeah. Did he-
Everyone's work is hard here.
Yeah. So we've got people painting the ships here. So this will be a ship that will be used again. Is it being refurbished? Is it being refurbished?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say it's very interesting to come here and see how all the ships are built. You know, I get ferries a lot, so it's interesting to see what goes into constructing them. But the working conditions are not good, and the people working here get very, very little pay, and it does make you feel very sad for them. Yeah, we don't realise how lucky we are. We really don't. I know the cost of living's gone up in the UK and people are struggling, but we really don't realise how lucky we are the majority of the time.
Now let's move on to Bangladesh's fabric industry. If you shop on the UK high street, many of your clothes are likely made in Bangladesh. The garment industry is the largest employer in the country, and around 60% of the workers are female. It's a vital industry for the rapidly developing country, and on an individual level, it provides families with necessary income. But the wages can be low, and the conditions have been poor. The 2013 Rana Plaza collapse was a structural failure building collapse and killed over 1,100 people. Since then, things have improved. A legally binding agreement called the Bangladesh Accord, which was a commitment to factory safety, was created and signed by brands like H&M, Zara, M&S and Tesco. Notably, some brands failed to sign. These include Debenhams, Next, Morrisons and Sainsbury's. Now some of them did refuse to sign because they said they had their own practices, but in some cases these are not publicly available. Many brands face scrutiny for low pay and some for child labour, although most large brands now have statements about this. It's difficult to know what to do about buying clothes that are made in Bangladesh. On one hand, it's difficult to find a lot of brands' ethical policies, and I certainly don't want to inadvertently support something unethical. But on the other, most brands do seem to be taking steps, and of course the industry is vital for the country's economy and individual workers. To try and learn more about it, I went to Dhaka's clothing market, where the garments made in some of the factories are sold.
So this is where you can buy what looks like pretty much any clothes under the sun. We just come here and we just found a H&M label. Rich was telling me the other day that pre-colonial times, Bangladesh used to be one of the biggest exporters of muslin in the world, which is a very sought after high quality fabric, and they made a lot of money exporting muslin. And then when the British took over and the British invaded, they stopped the production of muslin because they wanted to import fabrics made in the UK, so like lace made in Nottingham, for example. They do that so they could make more money. Obviously, Bangladeshi people then made less money, and ultimately the muslin industry kind of collapsed. The North Face here, I wonder if that is genuine. Burberry. I don't know if these are all genuine. They might not be. I don't know about these companies.
Now, in general, the use of ultra-fast fashion brands seems to be rising. Temu and Shein do not have branches in Bangladesh, but both offer ultra-cheap items. Temu selling everything from house decorations to toys, and Shein focusing on very fast fashion. The quality of both is completely under scrutiny. And with items so cheap, it begs the question, how much do factory workers really pay? Boohoo, another fast fashion brand who have had factories in Bangladesh, have been reported to pay their workers in Pakistan 29p per hour. And while Primark's prices are slightly higher, I do wonder after everything how much factory workers that work for Primark are actually getting.
I think it's the wasteful culture, you know, the Primark hauls, the buying a million different clothes you don't need from unethical suppliers. That is the problem, and you've got to think, if something is too cheap to be true, if something is so cheap you can't believe it's that price, there's a reason. Like, if the garment is that cheap, how much is the person making it being paid?
So if I had to support original H&M trousers for 350 tax, so $3,
Yeah.
how much would they cost in England? $20 maybe?
Yeah. H&M, yeah.
H&M. Yeah, H&M, made in Bangladesh.
Matalan, I saw as well.
So how do you know if a brand is ethical? It's really tough. Marks & Spencer, which is generally thought to be more ethical than most high street fast fashion brands, has this PDF available on its website, which outlines the steps they take to ensure fair workers' rights and to avoid modern slavery. Good On You, however, still gives M&S a 3 out of 5 rating for all its 3 categories, world, people and animals. The people section, which include workers' rights, states that it has initiatives to empower vulnerable women and girls in its supply chain, but also there's no evidence it ensures workers are paid living wages in its supply chain. H&M and Zara score similarly to M&S on Good On You, as does Primark, which did surprise me. It's worth noting that Temu and Shein score very, very low. But as mentioned, these stores do not have factories in Bangladesh. There needs to be more awareness in general of how these factories operate, and especially how much workers are paid. As all over the internet, it seems to be quite difficult to find this information. But from what I can see, most brands operating in Bangladesh do seem to be better than Shein and Temu. That said, Labour behind the label states this: wages in the garment industry are notoriously low. Most workers are not able to meet their basic needs and live in dignity. A lack of publicly available information on the supply chains allows brands to profit, while workers who make their clothes are kept living in poverty. One brand that I found on my research is 90%, who set up an ethical factory in Bangladesh and donate 90% of its profits to charity. It is worth mentioning that on Good On You, they still only score 3 out of 5, and they still apparently don't make their wages available. I don't know if this is an issue with being able to publish wages or Good On You's reporting, or that they're also not being transparent transparent about this. But from the website, they do look like a great brand, and if they are what they say they are, hopefully it sets a precedent for more brands in Bangladesh. I would recommend spending some time at looking up labour behind the label and learning about the costs of the garment industry. While it is a crucial employer and industry in Bangladesh, and conditions seem to have improved since the accord, transparency about wages is definitely still needed. Bangladesh clothes people from all over the world, and wherever you shop, I think it's so important to look at where your items come from. From shipbreaking to garment making, Bangladesh's industry is booming, and it has one of the world's fastest growing economies. But wages are still catching up, and I think it's such a crucial thing for people in the West to be aware of.
So that is it from this video. It's been a bit different to my usual videos, but I did want to share, just kind of start a conversation about how we can be doing better. I think tourism has started to grow, and the growth of tourism can definitely help people have different jobs. Still got a couple more Bangladesh videos to come. I think tomorrow I'm going to show you the sky rail that they've got here. So stay tuned for that, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.